Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to a brand new episode of Speaking Wrestling with Elvis Arroyo, and as always, I am your host, Elvis Arroyo, and this is episode 28. And on this episode, we are speaking AEW, NXT, also NWA Powerr. I'm going to give you guys something to watch, also performers and floppers of the week. But before we get started with that, guys, I want to give you guys a quick reminder. Head on over to our YouTube page, hit subscribe over at Speaking Wrestling. You can also find us on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling and over on Twitter at Speaking Russell. And also be sure to help spread the word of this podcast. It helps this podcast grow and its community. Your help and support will help me spreading the word for this podcast, and I thank you very much for doing so. Alright, guys, so let's get started. So this week's AEW Dynamite was live from Temple University in the greater part of Philadelphia, and this was a good show. Third week in a row, AEW is live on TNT, and they got off with a bang this week. And I like the fact that AEW is going on a different route. It is the alternative to WWE, and the way that they get their show started is different than WWE, and I like that. We started off with tag team action, and SCU was going to be taking on the Best Friends in another round of the tag team tournament for the AEW Tag Team Championships. And Lucha Brothers came down. They attacked SCU prior to the match starting. This led Christopher Daniels to be taken out of the match and for Scorpio Sky to substitute himself in, who was still in some dress pants and some dress clothes. But nonetheless, he stepped in and he had a great moment. And this match was fun, exciting. But the down part to this match, guys, definitely is the Best Friends. This is maybe their fourth, fifth time appearing on AEW television. And I got to say, guys, improvement is something that was necessary the first time that these guys made their appearance on AEW television. And we've yet to see that. I still see Chucky T needs major improvements in his in-ring work and also his appearance. Trent Beretta is great. He's a great guy, tremendous athlete, great talent. But being in this tag team, I think kind of holds him back a little bit. I don't like the holding hands at the beginning, and I wish they could come up with something else. But like I said, Scorpio Sky, was the MVP of this match, and SCU picks up a victory, moving on to another round. But that attack prior to the match kind of only leads me to believe that somewhere down this tournament, it's really leading to SCU and a Lucha Brothers finals. And the fact that they had a promo, in the entranceway, the first show of AEW Dynamite, also leads me to believe that they have a rivalry going on that they're building up to, and it's going to end with the tag team tournament. And I have no issue with that. I love both teams. I'm always entertained by SCU, Christopher Daniels, Kazarian. Those guys are great. And Scorpio Sky, like the performance that he gave tonight. There's so much potential in that guy. We know that he's been great on the mic and in those promo vignettes that they do. And tonight was the night that he could go out there and showcase who he is in the ring. Many people don't know Scorpio Sky than just being the third member of SCU. So look forward to that. But this was a very tag team heavy show. I mean, I kept thinking, is this, the tag team tournament all in one night? There was only 2 one-on-one matches. But nonetheless, great tag team action here tonight. Lucha Brothers, they also competed in a tag team tournament matchup against the Jurassic Express minus Luchasaurus, and in steps in another member in Marco Stunt. And again, look, Marco Stunt is, when you first glance at him, you think that he is like a 14-year-old kid, and turns out he's not. And he turns out he's, very agile and very, athletic and talented in the ring. But when you have a world-class tag team like the Lucha Brothers going in there and bumping and selling for him and being thrown around really takes me back, and it's one reason why this indie style, this, it works for getting those, cheap pops and those, flips and dives. It works for that. But when you're really trying to tell a story that this, very much new, inexperienced team of Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy is taking on a prime tag team like the Lucha Brothers. And, the Lucha Brothers kind of struggled to get this victory. This wasn't a squash. I mean, a squash was when we saw Santana and Ortiz take on their opponents. That, to me, was a squash. This match should have been more than that, but it really came off like two jobbers taking on, two guys that are made for prime time. But Lucha Brothers pick up the win and move on to the tournament, which is, once again, one step closer to getting that SCU Lucha Brothers Tag Team Finals. Also on this telecast, we saw a promo for Cody. And this looked to be something that you might see out of Being the Elite or these, road to, maybe Full Gear. And good video. I would say production was great. They do a really good job presenting these like it's UFC or like if it's the NFL Sunday. But it does come off as if Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes once again love the spotlight. It was really a video that was really all about them. And it's not like we haven't seen many of those already on AEW. And when you watch AEW, you're bound to see Cody and Brandy somewhere throughout the show. They're going to be featured through the show, and they weren't in the show in ring this week, but we got a promo vignette of Cody getting ready for his big match against Chris Jericho. And Cody's claiming that this is the most important thing to him. Becoming the AEW World Heavyweight Champion means everything to Cody. So, good hype video, but again, it does come off a little bit of look at who I am and look at what I've done. The AEW Women's Championship was on the line as Riho defended her championship against Brit Baker in what was quite a long match. These women got some good minutes to go out there and showcase what they got. The start of this match was very sloppy. Once again, I said Brit Baker, it doesn't seem like she is primed and ready for this opportunity, but nonetheless, she's here. This match did go on a little bit longer than I thought. But that's the way it goes with these matches. The longer they go, they kind of tend to work themselves out into a good match. And with the endurance and the time that they're getting, and you can see that the women are going out there and giving it all they got. Britt Baker looked gassed at the end, but look, she is a professional. She showed her true grit through this match, which earned me some points to let me believe that there's more to Britt Baker. And I like the handshake at the very end. If you look at the facials of Britt Baker going in for that handshake, I see some good potentials in her. She is more of a character-driven superstar, and I think that's one thing that AEW needs to really grasp with her, because if her in-ring work needs some improvement, we can work that out. But right now, I think Britt Baker being an on-screen character is fantastic. Pac and Jon Moxley took on Kenny Omega and Adam Page in tag team action. This was a good match. I gotta say, this was the most exciting match of the evening. Main event was great. We'll get to that. But this was another tag team match, thrown out there. Not part of the tag team tournament, but like I said, this is a tag team heavy show of AEW, and this was a good match. You got 4 guys that could be potential world champions of this company. 4 guys that you could put that rocket strap on, and could be the leading role, could be the leading man in your cast. And like I said last week, Pac to me is the most professional guy, in AEW. From the moment you see him on screen. And, once again, he comes out here looking like the best. And not like he was in there with some amateurs or some guys that aren't to his level. He's in there with Jon Moxley. He's in there with Kenny Omega and Adam Page, who is another one of those who is a blue chipper, as JR likes to say. And potential is there. Potential is there for Adam Page to be, once again get in that title reign for a future title shot. But I think he's got an uphill battle to climb, and he's got some other guys in front of him. And I can see a rivalry between him and Pac brewing. Their first match on the debut show was really good. So I'm really excited what they do with Page. But, this match really, centered around Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley just wanting to rip each other apart. And it almost led to that as both men came out with their broomsticks and that barbed wire bat. But before things got any messy, Pac made sure that, none of that was used. He took dirty deeds from Jon Moxley. Moxley walks out of the match, and Page and Omega take over, and they win. And next week on AEW television, it's going to be Jon Moxley going one-on-one with Pac. Should be an interesting match. They are 2 former WWE superstars, so wouldn't it be a surprise if these 2 go out next week and have the match of the night, perhaps match of the week? Darby Allin is the standout in this entire company, going up against the World Heavyweight Champion on the main event of AEW television with some good stuff. He's a 22-year-old kid going up against, over 30 years of experience in the wrestling business, Chris Jericho. And he put on a hell of a match. Even with his hands tied behind his back, this kid really went out there and gave it all he's got. And his character, his look, his presentation, it goes a long way. So, Darby Allin coming up short here, can't count him out. And the way that he went out, walls of Jericho, arms tied behind his back. The kid could always say that he never lost and never tapped out to Chris Jericho. He never really officially beat him. You can kind of say that the referee made a decision since Darby Allin really had no other choice other than to give up and submit. Big question out of this is, did Chris actually really need the help of Jake Hager? I mean, you would think that Chris Jericho, over 30 years of experience in the business and with an opponent with his arms tied behind his back, it really says a lot about Chris putting over Darby Allin in this matchup. And the end to the show was great. You can go out with the champagne bottles, popping them, having a little bit of the bubbly. Good stuff for AEW. And on to NXT. We saw the returning Tommaso Ciampa in action against Angel Garza. And this was an okay match. I really think that they went in with the play it safe. I don't think that this was Ciampa's best performance. I really thought that I would have got more in there being with a guy like Angel Garza, who I think is also another one of these NXT standouts who has potential written all over him. I'm going to go on record as saying that, he's got everything to become the next Eddie Guerrero. If there's a Latino star, Latino babyface that Vince is looking for, or Hunter will be looking for, it's Angel Garza. And again, this match wasn't the best match of these two guys. I think there was a little bit of a styles clash, and with it being Ciampa's first match back in action, they played it safe. He picks up the win here, but again, you can't look down at Angel Garza for picking up a loss here. He can definitely bounce back. He's kind of got that charming heel going for him. Teagan Knox, also another returning superstar, coming back from injury. Very impressive in her win. And all I can really think about when watching her match is she has babyface written all over her. I think if there's a babyface underdog that can go after Shayna, if it's not any of these other women that are also coming after her, like Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley, I think Teagan Knox is a good candidate for your underdog babyface taking on, the incomparable, unbeatable Shayna Baszler. So good there. Matt Riddle, also in action. Very impressive win here. Also Killian Dane in action. And post-match, getting in face-to-face with Pete Dunne there, as Pete Dunne was on his way to the ring to take on Damian Priest, who laid out Pete Dunne several weeks ago, and what was a really good match. This is, I thought also when you see this on paper, you're going to think this might be a clash of styles with these two gentlemen and the height differentials, but this was a great match. I got to give it up to Damian Priest, really going out there and working a great match with a guy like Pete Dunne, who is a technician, submission, everything. Good stuff. It really felt like a main event match. It really felt like these two guys have the potential to go out there and be ring generals. Damian Priest, he's a veteran in this business, along with Pete Dunne, who Damian Priest picks up the victory here in a very impressive win. And Damian Priest, he's an established character that, they are really pushing future maybe rivalries down the line. I would like to see a Priest and Finn Balor. That'd be really interesting. Get the Demon against the Priest. All right, guys, and let's shift things over to NWA Powerr. Yes, that's right. We are going to incorporate NWA Powerr for now and for the foreseeable future until we figure out whether we make our own show for NWA and MLW and Impact Wrestling. But for right now, we'll squeeze it in with the AEW and NXT talk. NWA Powerr, second week in a row, guys. And I got to say, during the week from the first episode till the second episode, I was really, really anticipating this second episode. I really was. I've fallen head over heels with this program. And, when it was announced that NWA was also going to be throwing in their hat in this, wrestling war, this wrestling revolution that's going on right now, with AEW coming in and NXT coming into USA. You have MLW doing amazing things right now. NWA and also Impact as well. Let's not forget about them. They signed on to Access Television, which is great. They're going to be on weekly television. NWA as well announced that they were going to do weekly television. And I remember thinking, oh man, I'm probably not going to watch that. With WWE pay-per-views, with NXT, with AEW, with, bonus shows, with internet shows, and then along with the stuff that I'm into that's not wrestling related, music, other podcasts that I enjoy listening to, and spending time with my family. I really thought, man, I'm probably going to sit out this NWA stuff. Maybe I'll watch it at some point, but I don't think I'm going to watch the first episode and, start from the beginning. I might catch it when, it's gets referenced by other podcasts to check it out. But I got to say, I saw the first one, and I'm very impressed. Really what drawn to me was Jim Cornette and Joe Galli, the announcers of NWA, and the voice of NWA, Joe Galli, who's a real news reporter. He used to be a news reporter right here in my hometown, Palm Springs, getting this opportunity to shine. And I enjoy watching his progress into the wrestling business, and I also love listening to Jim Cornette. But nonetheless, it's really about the talent that's in NWA, and they have amazing talent. They have talent like Eli Drake. They have Colt Cabana. They have James Storm. They have Tim Storm. They have Eddie Kingston and Homicide. And this week, making his debut on NWA television, the returning Mr. Anderson in tag team action with Colt Cabana. Great stuff there. And also, they have the 10 pounds of gold world heavyweight champion, of course, Nick Aldis. This is a great show. I gotta say, I can't wait for next Tuesday, 6:05, 3:05 here on the West Coast to come around for the third edition of NWA Powerr. Good stuff. I really love the production. I'm fully entertained. I really think that this is the most easiest wrestling you can digest. If you're getting into wrestling for the first time, or you're not looking for the big lights and the big arenas like an AEW or WWE, then this is for you. And I really think that this is what wrestling fans that love and appreciate wrestling for the art and what it is and the presentation of wrestling, that I think this is what we've really been looking for. This MLW, NWA, small promotions, but doing wrestling the right way as if it's a big time promotion. And that maybe, that's what, like I said, us wrestling fans, really what we needed. We might have thought that AEW is an alternative and it's going to be different than WWE and better and easier and more enjoyable. But it really turns out that when I'm watching AEW, I'm still getting the same headaches and, it's clusterfucks that you would get on with WWE. But with MLW and NWA, it's like all the politics, all the negativity goes away, and just the love of professional wrestling comes back. It's like if you're watching those shows, it just means that you are a diehard. It means that you really love professional wrestling, because it's so easy to just, want to watch WWE and AEW because it's so accessible these days. And also the fact that, it's bigger stars and bigger presentation. But, for those that love wrestling more than, wrestling itself, you're going to dig more underground. It's no different than, what you do with music. If you're not listening to what's on the radio or what's on TV or, what's on the mainstream, you're going underground and digging that stuff up because you want more, and you know that there's better wrestling out there, and that's what you love. You enjoy good wrestling, and you go out of your way to find it. And I encourage all of you guys to go out of your way and watch MLW, as this is what to watch for the week. MLW is live on BN Sports this weekend, every Saturday, guys, and also available on YouTube. And with that being said, guys, it is now time for our performers and floppers of the week. This is where I give you guys my MVPs and floppers of the week. My MVP for the week, guys, is Darby Allin. I mean, come on. With a performance like that, his arms tied behind his back, going up against a future Hall of Famer in Chris Jericho, Darby Allin is my MVP for the week. AEW officiating and tag teams. I mean, some of those tag teams, it really felt like it was a tornado tag. And once again, not calling disqualifications when a disqualification should have been called through interference or a weapon. So that's my flopper of the week. And with that being said, guys, this has been episode 28 of Speaking Wrestling. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to head on over to our YouTube page, hit subscribe, and also you can follow us on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling and on Twitter at Speaking Wrestle. All right, guys, we'll be back next Wednesday with episode 29 of Speaking Wrestling, where we talk Raw and SmackDown. See you then. Bye-bye.